What's up guys, this is Mike, the Detroit Borg, with the latest addition to the Nest ecosystem of smart home devices. This is the new Nest Cam IQ. So this is an indoor camera with some very sophisticated features such as facial recognition, automatic motion tracking, two-way voice communication, and some high-end specs such as a high-resolution 4K camera sensor. Now this joins the existing Nest Cam Indoor and the Nest Cam Outdoor, along with the Nest Thermostat and Nest Protect for a very well-integrated system of devices that is easy to manage through the Nest app. Now, I've actually been using Nest products since the very first thermostat came out, and I want to thank Nest for sponsoring this video so I can take an in-depth look at their new cameras. Unboxing and setup is very straightforward. Once you pull the tab along the side, the box just pulls up and the camera is right there. Now, the camera is nestled in a tray with a plastic label covering the camera glass during shipment. Snapping the tray off the base, we can see a rubber foot to keep the camera stable on most surfaces, along with a threaded mount for a wall or ceiling installation. In terms of paperwork, like most devices today, it's very minimal because the setup process is pretty simple, and we'll take you through that. Now, at the bottom of the box are the only two accessories, which includes an extra long USB-C power cable, along with a circular 28-watt wall adapter with a USB-C connector. Now, the camera also has a recessed USB-C connector, which matches the included cable for a completely flush design. So once the cable is installed, the cable runs flushly against a surface, so it's not hanging down from the camera. To set up the camera, you'll need to install the Nest app on your iOS or Android phone. Since I'm already a Nest user, I can go to the settings panel to add a new device. This will launch the camera app to scan the QR code on the bottom of the pedestal. This will automatically sync the camera to the app and walk you through the process of naming the camera's location and connecting it to your Wi-Fi network. Once connected to your network, the light turns green and the camera is ready for use. Now, the design is very similar to other Nest products with a sleek and sturdy white plastic housing, which looks very good in any setting. The camera itself is covered in a seamless piece of tinted glass, which is surrounded by an LED ring. Now, that light ring is only on when the camera needs to be configured or when somebody is talking through the camera, so it grabs some attention when it's on, but otherwise it's off in normal use. This also flashes in different colors for troubleshooting. So for example, if it's yellow, that means it's having trouble connecting to Wi-Fi, and if it's red, that means it doesn't have sufficient power. So that might happen if you're connecting the USB cable to some other power adapter besides the one that came included. The camera is actually mounted on a ball joint, which allows for a very wide range of movement, so the camera can be easily adjusted for any setting. On the back of the camera is a very loud and clear speaker. Nest says this speaker is 7 times louder than the previous Nest Cam Indoor. So carrying on a conversation through this speaker or just scaring away home intruders is much more effective this time.
So as soon as you start talking, the camera lights up to let you know that somebody's talking to you and shuts off when the other person is done talking. Of course, you also get an audible tone that lets you know when the conversation has started, and the speaker quality is pretty decent for a small room.
Also built in are 3 microphones used for echo suppression and noise cancellation, so you can hear voices clearly and the camera can identify certain sounds. So for example, this camera can tell the difference between a bark and a person talking, and can alert you when it hears specific sounds in your home. Similar to a smartphone, the glass bezel surrounding the camera hides many of the sensors used for light detection, as well as the IR lights needed for night vision. During the daytime, this camera uses HDR processing to create a much clearer image in challenging lighting conditions. So for example, if your camera is pointed at windows, HDR helps to even out the light so that the exposure from the windows doesn't blow out the image of the room. This works especially well in my office and entryway, which gets a lot of sun from the west, and most security cameras tend to underexpose the room to bring down the exposure from the windows. So this camera does an excellent job bringing down that severe contrast. At nighttime, the camera's invisible array of 940 nanometer infrared LEDs evenly illuminate the entire room, so you can see detail very clearly in pitch black. Nest also says that these LEDs are twice as bright as the ones that come in the Nest Cam Indoor. Night vision does kick in automatically whenever there isn't enough light in the room to see the room clearly, but you can also manually force this mode on if you prefer. Although this camera has a 4K sensor, this camera records only up to 1080p video, but you can also dial this back. Now, the 4K sensor is primarily used to preserve image quality when cropping or zooming. So this means you can see far more detail when the camera needs to zoom in instead of just cropping the 1080p video. Now this becomes especially useful for features like subject tracking, which means the camera can automatically zoom in and track movement. And it does this without sacrificing any part of the camera's full view of the room. Nest calls this feature SuperSight. which allows the user to easily switch between a close-up and a full view of the room even after the video has already been recorded. This high-resolution sensor is also used for person alerts and facial recognition. The camera can automatically zoom in on detailed shots of any faces that walk past the camera. This shows up as an alert on your phone through the Nest app, so you can quickly glance at it from the notification. Now, once the camera identifies any faces, you can actually add them to familiar faces within the app. So the app can notify you if the person is familiar or not. So this allows you to quickly glance to see if there's an intruder or just somebody coming home. So really what pulls all of this together is the Nest app. So as soon as I bring up the Nest app, I can see all of the Nest devices in my home. So that includes my thermostat, my Nest Protects, and all of my cameras, which are feeding live video to all 4 of my windows here. So I can see all 4 cameras live at once, which is very handy. So I can see my family room, I can see my office where I'm talking right now, and then I can also see my studio and my deck. So the Nest Cam IQ in my office, I can go ahead and tap on that. Of course, there's a lot of features to take a look at, so I can pinch in and out to zoom, which takes advantage of that 4K sensor, so I can get quite a bit of detail here. And then I can tap this thumbnail, which allows me to zoom out to the full view. So again, it's recording the full view while you're cropping in and out. I can also move this thumbnail around, so if you want to position it out of the way, you can do that, and then we can zoom back out. Or you can just tap on the thumbnail as well to jump back to the full view. Now with Sightline, I can also scrub through my entire timeline. So again, this is recording 24 hours a day. So obviously I haven't had it running that long. It's been in my office for maybe a day here, but it goes all the way back and you can see how much time I spend in my office, or I can just tap on any one of these events. So for example, in this shot, it's tracking me because I'm walking through the door. So it's cropped in, and then I can see my dual view here. So I can tap on it to expand back out, or just allow it to play back the motion as it recorded it. Now, if you tap on the gear icon in the upper right corner, this will take us to the settings panel. There's a few things to take a look at here. So we have our camera on and off options, so you can turn off the microphone and the camera independently. We also have our quality and bandwidth options. So right now I have it set to maximum, so it will not go over 400 gigs per month and keep the resolution within those parameters. So that should get me 1080p most of the month, but you can also limit this all the way down to 100 gigs per month for low. We can also turn off the close-up tracking view. So if you don't want that feature on, you can turn that off here. We also have our night vision options. I have it set to auto, so it automatically turns on when there's no light outside, but you can always select always on or turn it off completely. This camera also has a green LED status light, which is always on when the camera is recording video. It also flashes if somebody is watching the camera. So if you want to turn this off to make it a little more discreet, you can do that right here. Under familiar faces, this is where it will keep track of all the faces it has detected. So right now it really only sees my face. So if I go ahead and tap on the gallery for my face, you can see just how many there are. So it's captured basically every time I've appeared in front of the camera for any length of time. So that's kind of interesting. So if I had multiple faces here, they would be broken down into different galleries, and I can authorize those faces so it's recognized as a familiar face. Under notifications, this is where you can modify the type of notifications you receive from the camera. I think this is kind of important. This allows you to limit certain notifications you may not want to receive. You can also limit when you receive notifications to always or when no one's home. We also have activity type, so this is where you can turn off people recognition. We also have motion recognition. So if it detects any form of motion, whether it's your dog moving across or if it's a car driving by or something like that, this will automatically send a notification. Personally, I don't want that. And under sound, it can recognize 3 types of sound: a person talking, a dog barking, or just any other sound that's especially notable. Now, if you don't want the camera running 24 hours a day, there's a few options. So we can manually schedule the camera's on and off time right down to the day, and we can add specific events. But one of my favorite features of this camera is the home/away assist. So if you turn this on, this will automatically turn off the camera when you're in home or away mode. So right now, because I'm home, all of the indoor cameras have been turned off, which is what I want. But if I select away, this will turn all of the cameras back on. So I can do this manually, or I can do it automatically. Now, to enable automatic mode, we're going to go up to settings, go to home/away assist, and then we're going to select what decides if you're home. So in my case, I'm going to use my phone. So I can see my phone right here, the iPhone 7 Plus red. So once I'm home using my geolocation, this will automatically enable home mode. So we'll turn off the cameras, and then it will also turn the cameras on when I move away from the home. So if I go driving, this will automatically kick on the camera, so I don't have to worry about keeping the cameras turned on and off on a specific schedule. It just happens automatically. Ultimately, one of my favorite aspects of this camera is the way it manages all of the footage and the notifications that a system like this can generate. So all of the movement or sound notifications are much more specific and provide a lot more info at a glance. Now, the footage recorded by the cameras are streamed and stored online through the Nest servers, and in order to access that footage, you'll have to subscribe to the Nest Aware service, which is a monthly or yearly subscription service. But because the footage is stored online, you have access to that footage from a variety of platforms, from Android, iOS, or even a web browser, which is kind of handy. That means you can go to basically any internet-connected device and have access to your security cameras and the footage that it generates. And some of the smart features of this camera only work with a Nest Aware subscription, such as the facial recognition feature. In terms of pricing, this is on the high side, so it's $299 for one or $498 for two, so that saves $100 if you go for the 2-pack. And considering how much more expensive all of the valuables are in my house, I think this is money well spent. Alright guys, hope you enjoyed this look at the Nest Cam IQ. If you guys want to take a look at one, I'll leave it linked in the description below. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, please give it a thumbs up to let me know. And I'll see you again in my next video.